You're listening to the Journey Weekly Podcast. Wherever you're listening from, we're glad you're here.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today on a special episode. This is a bonus
Yes,
episode.
bonus.
We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do this or not, but just reading more in Ephesians chapter 5, we just thought, hey, what better way to celebrate what is being shared here than just talking about it a little bit more. So I'm going to read for us. This is Ephesians chapter 5. I'm going to read verses 21, let's say through 29. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Yeah? All right. Let's go ahead and read it, and then let's just have a discussion. I think I have some questions. I think we all kind of want to talk about it. So let's see where we go. It says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make him holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery. But I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So these verses, right, these specific verses, need a lot of other teaching and instruction, obviously, to unpack and kind of have some conversation around. So I think it's important to know, as we mentioned in plenty other of these episodes, right? The book of Ephesians was written to a church that really didn't have too much going on, whereas we see in Corinthians and some other sections of Paul's writings where he's addressing a specific issue that's happening in the church, and he says, hey, like this is where we hear the very commonly misinterpreted phrase about women being silent in the church. That is addressing a specific issue that's happening at a specific time to help get the church back in order because of what was happening in a specific location. So this is written to churches, multiple churches. Paul planted plenty of churches in the area of Ephesus. So it's important to know that this letter would have been circulated through those areas. So this is something that would apply to multiple groups of people and also obviously us today. So yeah.
I just want to know, well, thank you for reading so well, but also how has this passage, maybe we can talk about how has this passage been misunderstood or misused in culture, and maybe even in the church, how's this passage been misused and misinterpreted?
Yeah, I think we were talking before, but I think the word submission in the worldly term, I think most people, maybe not most, because maybe people don't know this a lot, but I think of the word submission, the first thing that comes to mind is the UFC. This fighting thing, there's these two duking it out, one versus another, so they're not a team, they're two separate people, and you want to make the other person get to a spot where they can do nothing, and you're in my control. Tap or else.
Uncle.
And I think exactly. And you go back to any old school movie, and that is uncle, right? That piece of I am stronger than you, I'm more powerful than you. This is that submission piece, and I think it's very easy in the world or even in churches at times to give that word submit this power of it almost is this person, this versus this person, husband versus wife, when it's wait, what? No, this is, and that's why I love verse 21, starting with submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ, to one another. This is a team thing, and I think that the version people can see is this person versus this person. I think a lot of, in the world today, if we look at a lot of marriages, how many of them are actually on the same team? I don't know. I think it would be alarming how many feel like it's Packers versus Bears in a way. And it's man, I was right today. So, and then you're again,
that's taking tally, right?
I think that the beautiful piece of when you are a team, or we were talking about with this term submit in the army tense, being underranked, being that. Hey, we're still on the same team here. We're not. We're in the same army piece, but there is a respect, a submission to. Hey, it's just that is when it's done beautifully versus this person versus this person, and then you're getting into a fight, and it's oh gosh, this is not what this is about at all.
That verse 21 is so often it's to really sets the tone for the rest of that passage, and it's so often skipped over or forgotten because of the little headers or like a little above it or whatever.
There were no headers when this was
written.
Right,
exactly. It's skipped, but it's about mutual submission. It's not like it's weakness. It's actually like it would be described as worship. Like that mutual submission is actually a piece where we can learn to worship the Lord better. Because it's what does it say? Out of reverence for Christ. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Sam's spot on. I think in our culture, our worldly culture today in the 21st century, I think when we hear the word submission, we think that's blind obedience. And I don't know if there's any other type A women listening to this podcast, but this is something that I really wrestled with the Lord a lot as I was walking through ministry school, and I was just trying to figure out, like, Lord, what does this actually mean for us? I think it's just important to recognize the power of looking to people in your life who you respect and honor, and say, hey, how does this work for you? What does this look like for you? So I know, like, in preparation for this podcast, I reached out to some people who you both would know if I named them, but people who I love, people whose marriages I respect. And I just said, hey, what are things that you maybe had perspectives about this verse in specific prior to getting married, and how do you feel about it now? And I think what's so cool is really exactly what Sam said. Like, it's supposed to be a team effort. It's not a you against me. It's supposed to be an us against whatever, right? Us against the enemy. Us against a spirit of discord in our family, us against whatever, generational curses, whatever it is. It's supposed to be us cooperative, right? We're working together. So yeah, I think that's so important for us to recognize as we're kind of walking through this conversation. I think it's so freeing to understand it's not about who can hold the other person down the longest as much as it is like, what is the Lord trying to lead us in as we walk through spirit guided relationships?
It shouldn't be a wrestle. It should be like a waltz.
Okay.
There you go.
Here we go.
It should be a dance, right? Like
that'll be on Instagram.
Clip that. No, it's because it's really, it's not about power. It's really it's a posture thing. It's not. It's not like women. You need submission. Isn't about silence. It's or even smallness. It's not about. It's about literally just being, and like you mentioned it in the military sense, in rank, in step with what God has had, how God's in a relationship is supposed to be. It's not subjugation. It's literally just submitting under authority, under leadership. For the fellas watching this, like, headship is not about control. It's about sacrifice. Like, literally, as this passage talks about, it says, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Well, Jesus Christ died for the church. Like, he died for his bride. So, like, that's our role in this, right? It's like, hey, because it comes back to like leadership. We have this term we were talking about this before we jumped on of leadership, right? And we have this phrase we hear a lot of, servant leadership, and I am actually not a fan of that term at all. People are like, what? Yeah, because putting the word servant in front of leadership implies that there's some other type of leadership out there where like real leadership, biblical leadership starts and stops with servant, right? Like, Jesus Christ said, like, whoever is the greatest among you must be the last. Like, whoever wants to be the first must be last. Like, so it's always been about washing the other one's feet. It's always been about grabbing your towels. It's always been about serving and trying to outserve. One of my best friends in ministry told me, like, right before me and my wife got married, he said, if you two try to outserve one another in your marriage, you will never have a fight. Like it always comes to, like, am I getting a fair shake out of this?
Yeah.
Right. And it comes down to, if you're trying to outserve the other one, you're not worried about that. And so I think when we come to passages like this, it can be very easy to take it out of context because, like you said, of how we hear the word submission and culture today. But we have to understand that biblical literacy, biblical understanding of what the term submission is. It's actually a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. It's a bonding of a thing. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to get into a couple of things. Like, let's talk about this. Because this isn't even like, maybe talk to me even from a person who's single. What is this? How does this speak to someone who's single? Maybe they're watching this right now and they're like, oh, I'm not feeling this. Not like, turn this thing off.
I don't want to click this one.
Like, talk to somebody from a person that's single. And I've been a single person. You know, we've all been single people up here. We've been married. You've been married how long? 2 years?
Just 2 years.
2 years. I've been married 3 years. So, like, we're still fresh into this thing.
I still know what I'm doing.
You're a single person, right? You're still trying to figure out. But how does this, maybe, Maddie, you kick off, how does this speak to someone who's single and wondering what to look for or what to become in a future, maybe even a future relationship or future spouse?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I mentioned earlier, there has been a plenty of times where I have felt like, Lord, why is this the way that you wrote it? Like, God, why is this? And I think also that comes from just historically the life that I've lived and the people that I've seen. And I think for some of the single women who are listening to this, if you are like, man, I could never imagine myself submitting to a man, I could never imagine myself doing that. I just want to encourage you, like, there are good, incredible, God-fearing men out there who one day, I'm believing for you and I'm standing in faith with you, that you will meet and you will say, oh, that's what servant leadership looks like. That's what, you know what I mean? Yes, you're cringing now. But I just want to encourage you, to any of the single people who are listening to this, especially women, like, there are men out there who you can trust. There are men out there who are safe. So yeah, I think as a single person, right? Like, I think about our staff. I'm the only single pastor on staff. I'm the only one who doesn't have a kid on the way or a kid. And I think it can also be important for us to recognize as single people, like, okay, but who do I submit to? Who do I submit myself to? And even as you mentioned, you know, talking about context, especially within the Greco-Roman culture that this was written in, this was actually crazy countercultural. Right. For Paul to be saying, husbands, respect your wives and love them as you love yourself, because in this time that is not how women were treated. No. And so this is so countercultural that for us, we're like, oh yeah, you know, that's kind of maybe what we believe about marriage already, what we see in media, what we see online. This is very countercultural to that culture. And there's actually stuff that was culturally acceptable then that is very, very, very disapproved of now, but which I won't go into. But there are a lot of things that they would do culturally in relationships and things like that, stuff that they would do, especially in the Greco-Roman culture, that today are quite literally illegal. So it's things like that that's important for us to know, that this isn't just a statement that they would have believed. This would have been groundbreaking theology for the early church to hear. So yeah, I would say that would be kind of my charge to single people is who are you submitting to, and who are we supposed to be submitting to? That's a hard question to answer. So when you think of this, you know, wives submitting to their husbands also submitting themselves to the Lord. For you, maybe that looks like you have a hard decision and you don't have a spouse to turn to figure out, hey, I need to make this career change. I need to make this job change. I have big decisions to make. You submit yourself to the pastor that's above you. That's what we do. So obviously you're submitted under Christ, but if you are needing help or needing guidance in the same way that someone would go to a spouse, find a spiritual mentor in your life that you can also submit yourself under. I just think submission in general, regardless of your age, you could be a teenager listening to this. I don't know why you clicked on this one, but you could be a teenager listening to this one just because you like to hear a stock. We all should be submitting to someone. To someone. We're all submitting to someone, and that's biblical. Obviously everyone under Christ, but in addition to that, like, practice submission.
100%. And I just want to say also to the person that's maybe dating, and maybe you're like, maybe you're a serial dater and you're like, nobody's worthy. And I tried, like, I would just say this, nobody's worthy 100% of the time. That's good. Like the Bible says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Like, there is, myself included, Sam was probably echo this as well. Like, at some point, I have not been worthy of submission. Yet anyway, my wife just submitted to me. Not because, and that's because of who she is, not always because of how I've done. I think we talked about this even off air about how in military sense, we'll love you to jump in here, Sam, and talk about that, of how that works even in a military scenario. Yeah, I think if you just look at, I mean, we can see it in all of history. Not every general made the right decision. There has been, we need to go left when we're supposed to, I don't know, we should go right. No, we're going to go left. This is my plan. And then going left backfires. Yeah. And you come back and a good team, the people that are under that general, he would go and be like, guys, I made a mistake here. And they go, hey, still respect you, still trust you, even though that mistake happened. And I think that is a beautiful, it actually, those are the moments where they probably got closer. So that next time, whatever needed to change for that next time when that is done right, I think is beautiful. I've said this phrase often when talking about this word, submission isn't submission until it feels like submission. Right? Submission is great when we both agree. But when we're kind of like disagreeing on something, and then we go, you know what? I'm going to submit to my leadership. I'm going to submit to even my spouse, whatever the case may be. Like, until you're faced with like an opportunity to submit, sometimes it doesn't always feel like submission until it does feel like I have to put. Even Jesus submitted to God the Father. He said, who's in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said, Lord, please take this cup from me. But he said at the end, he said, not my will, but yours be done.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone listening to this, like, submission sometimes does feel like I'm laying down what I think is right for the sake of,
and it could be a better option.
But it could be a better option. And that's the beautiful thing is, like, you might be the smarter person in the couple, right? You might be, we see this, you might be smarter than the general. You might be smarter than the next person. You might be better at this. Like, there's things my wife is much better than me at most things, honestly. Let's be honest. My wife is better than me at most things, right? Double true, right? And so, but yet, she allows me to lead. And I listen to her because I know she's smarter than me. Yeah. But there'll be times where we have to make a decision. She will follow my lead. And it may be the wrong decision. Yeah, you know what? That was on me. I got to take that one. But,
I'll take that.
But it comes back to the team. And there's just such a beauty. Like you said, it comes back to we're working as a team. It's mutual submission, one to another, out of reverence for Christ.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is, like, what Maddie hit is, like, man, I want to find someone that is worthy of my submission in the godly way. As a guy, you need to find a woman that you are willing to die for, like that. Because I'll be honest, there's not a lot. I like a lot of people in the sense of I got friends, but, like, I'm not dying for everybody. Like, I'd be like, I'm out, bye, you know. But for me, I go, there are very few people that I would die for: family, wife, baby. Like, those are the three. And maybe Reggie, you know what he said. But
maybe I got a maybe.
Yeah. But there are a few people because and that's what when I think my grandpa gave me some of the best advice before I proposed to Erica. I was like, he asked me, "Why do you want to, like, propose to her?" I was like, "Man, she's beautiful. She's nice. She's this and that." And he said, "That could be a lot of different people, Sam." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Are you willing to, if there was someone that came into your house, would you step in front of a gun?" And I was like, "For Erica, yes." He goes, "Okay, then propose." And I was like, "Whoa!" Because if there's if that is something you're like, "Ooh, actually, I don't know about that." Mm-hmm. That is a big one of, like, one, looking at these scriptures of, man, you if that situation were to come, you are to lay your life down for this woman. So make sure it's somebody that you are willing to do that for, because they are that is your the person in that moment that God is asking you to do that for. So I think that is a really cool like question, because a lot of times guys are like, "What question am I asking?" Like, I just got to find a pretty girl that's nice. Like, no, you need to find someone that you're going, "Man, in any situation, I would lay my life down for." And that's not just dying, right? That is in so many different ways. Laying down your dreams. Now, that business you wanted to start, that may have to take a 20-year pause because you've got to do something else for your family. There's a responsibility now. And I think that piece of find someone you're willing to do that for gladly. When we talk about giving gladly, right? You don't just, I guess I'm got to go back to this job to make money for the family. No. Then you're in the way wrong headspace. You should wake up like, man, what an honor it is to lay down my life for my wife, for my, like, it is a beautiful thing when done correctly.
And I think even for, like, the women listening, like, okay, what does that look like from a female perspective too? Like, that's find someone who you trust their leadership. How do they handle their finances? What does their car look like? Like, right, those things. Like, how are they honoring and trusting? Like, how are they honoring the things that God has entrusted them with? I think that's super important. And I know we talked about this a little bit, and I do want to hit on this. We talked about submission and what that looks like. I also think it's important for us to recognize that word has been used historically in the church to cover a number of ways that women have been hurt. Right. So I think it's important for us to recognize that too. So we are all, as Paul even talks about this earlier in Ephesians, we're all co-heirs with Christ. We all are called to submit ourselves to the Lord. So if your spouse is doing something that's unbiblical, if your spouse is doing something and requiring your submission for that, you also submit yourself to the Lord. So how do you walk through that? How do you process through that of, like, hey, I'm, as a woman, being told I need to submit to my husband, but he is making decisions that are unbiblical. He is doing things. I think in my obviously I'm not married, but from my understanding as a pastor and things that I've been trained on, like, when it comes to how do we as women, maybe you guys can speak to this, how do we as women intentionally, honor, but also pray, Holy Spirit, would you change and would you shape perspective? Would you change heart? When do you bring someone in? I don't know. Do you guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, I would say prayer changes things.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Wholeheartedly, like, I've seen it. Yeah. I haven't just, like, read about it. I've witnessed it in people's lives where wife is submitted to the Lord, husband's living is not living for, and I prayed for my husband for 15, and I go, 15 years you prayed while they were out doing, and I submitted him and I served him and I loved him like Christ loved the church. Like I loved him even when it was hurt, even when it was painful. And I'm not saying you're in a situation where you are in danger. Like, please don't listen to this and go, I'm just going to submit myself. Like, no. Like, use wisdom. That's what the Bible says. There's wisdom in a multitude of counsel. Like, don't do this alone. Don't pray by yourself. Like, if you're going to get some women around you that's going to pray, get a small group of people that can pray around you. Honestly, like, pray for some men to come around your husband that will lead them and guide them. One of the reasons my dad came to Christ before he even met my mom was because there was 2 guys at work that loved the Lord and he just wanted to be around them. And like, I'm here today because of those 2 guys, right? That led my dad to the Lord. So like, for you, if you're sitting here and you're a woman watching this right now, you're married to someone who does not know the Lord, does not have their life submitted to the Lord. First and foremost, get on your knees and pray. Get on your knees and pray, and but get some people around you that will pray with you. And also use wisdom, use discernment. But that's honestly like the advice. Like, don't do it alone. And pray as much as you can. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I don't remember, we talked about this in one of the episodes, but I think that reactive versus like proactive, I think a lot of the times, and sometimes this cannot be done sooner, but there are a lot of times where people come at level 70. Where, hey, this has been happening for super long. Now they're bigger and bigger and bigger decisions now. And the reality is, man, I wish most people would probably think, man, I wish on that first little decision that I was like, oh, that's off, that I would have already had someone in our lives that we could talk about that. So I'm saying like marriage counselor, a mentor, a marriage mentor. So not just like a couple that you can go to that before you're even married, have that person. So when there is a small thing of, oh, that I thought we were gonna only spend $55 on fun stuff, but you spent $65 this month. That's $10. It's $10. It's $10. 3 years down the road, $1,000 has been dropped. You're like, whoa, now we gotta talk about this. A small thing of in a marriage meeting, with your counselor, with your thing, you go, hey, that made me feel a type of way when you spent $10 extra. And then you can go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize. I just thought I could. So some of those things, not all, but some of them can be a little more proactive if there's already someone in your life, because you guys know if you come to someone on level 70, you have years of things to share with somebody. They weren't there in the moment. They don't know how much it actually hurts you. They're getting a afterthought.
Bits and pieces.
And you're like, man, I wish I could have had it all. I wish I could have walked through. So then I know when, husband, you just need to stop being dumb. Because you know what I'm saying? But someone that knows you can say that. There are people in my life that will go, Sam, stop talking. You're wrong on this. And I go, you're right, because I've allowed that into my life. Versus 7 years down the road, I'm all this and that. I'm already in defensive mode. That's not going to help me. So I think the proactive, try to get, even when you're dating, get a mentor couple that can just walk you through, hey, is this the right relationship? Because sometimes...
Yeah, that's good.
It's easy. They're attractive. You start doing stuff you're not supposed to do. Now you're looking through the lens of, but I love them. No. You just love what you can do with them outside of the godly whatever. So then now it's skewed. And if you have someone in your life that can help you go, actually, you're kind of skewed on this one right now. Let's get back to where it's supposed to be. I think a lot of those level 70, level 99 issues, when you look back at level 5, we could have talked to somebody about that. I think it would be a huge thing.
That's good. I think, I don't remember if we talked about this in the podcast or not. So if we did, sorry, you guys are hearing it again. But I think in our world, in our culture, we're so desiring of the benefits of covenant without the commitment of covenant. And that's exactly what Sam's talking about. Like, I think we see things, and I think it goes both ways. I think guys see it that way. I think girls see it that way as well, right? The provision side of things, the protector side of things, the whatever, this is my man. I think there are things that people want, the benefits of the covenant without the commitment of the covenant. And I just think that's so important. Like, be aware of what are things that belong only within a covenant and what are things that don't. Like, I know for me, again, as a single woman, right, who has dated and done whatever, like, as a single woman, I think it's important. Like, there have been moments where I have been like, hey, there's no expectation for you as a person who I'm just talking to, I'm just dating, to spiritually lead me. That is something that's what we see in scripture happens within a covenant relationship. We're not in a covenant relationship. You don't have to spiritually lead me. I can spiritually lead myself because we're not in a covenant relationship. So I think it's important to know that doesn't just talk about sex. That's not just what the context of that is. But there are layers to that covenant relationship for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely layers, and we could go forever on this. This has been just such a great content. Is there any other thoughts you guys have before we kind of wrap up this bonus episode on this subject? And here's what I'll say. You don't need a relationship status to live out this passage, right?
Totally.
Like,
absolutely.
as much as this passage is speaking specifically to wives and husbands, you don't need a relationship status to live this out. You just need a heart surrendered to the Lord, a heart surrendered to God. And you can live this out. You can be fully submitted to the Lord in waiting, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing. So whether you're married, single, dating, or somewhere in between, right? Like you can love like Jesus. You can serve like Jesus. You can submit your life as Christ did to God the Father, no matter what your relationship status is. And even in your relationships, as they are right now, you can learn to lead this way. Gentlemen, you can learn to servant lead. You can learn,
or just lead.
Ladies, you can learn in certain aspects to submit, right, and to see what that looks like and to understand that process. So I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add on to that as we kind of wrap this episode up.
Yeah, I think just that, this section, right, it says this is a great mystery, but it's an illustration of the way that Christ and the church are one, right? This is that's our model is Jesus and his bride, which is the church, which is us. Yeah. How do you feel being both a groom and a bride in your life?
Hey, you know what? Like,
I just totally derailed you. I'm so
you did.
Sorry.
So, all good.
But I think it's important for us to recognize, like, hey, we are the church, and that is our expectation. Our standard is understanding that we are the bride of Christ.
You got me there. That was good. Pastor, anything?
Yeah, I think there was, as I was looking at this, shout out to Enduring Word. It's a great commentary. I love it. It says this, and I think this is just such a good, because the worldly versus godly, I think ending on this is so great. It says, worldly headship says, I am your head, so you take your orders from me and must do whatever I want. Godly headship says, I am your head, so I must care for you and serve you. Worldly submission says, you must submit to me. So here are the things I want you to do for me. Godly submission says, you must submit to me, so I am accountable before God for you. I must care for you and serve you. And I think that just gives such a beautiful picture of the difference between walking away from this podcast. Hopefully this episode, you understand, one, the clear differences between godly submission and headship and worldly submission, and realize, okay, we're not living in the worldly headship of this person for this person, but with godly headship submission, it is one of the most beautiful pictures, and also will bring other people to Christ, because it's so different of like, why does why when you guys fight, do you still seem like you're on the same team? Oh, because we do it completely different than the world does. And that is it's in the Bible all the time. When you actually live how you're supposed to live, how God asks us to, it's crazy. People come to Jesus because they go, wait, that's different than what I'm used to. Yeah. So I think that piece of, if this is done correctly, people will come to know Jesus, because that is ultimately everything we do in our lives, marriage, pastoring, working at a business, working at a bank. If you are living the way you're supposed to, people will come to know Jesus, and that is ultimately, we're trying to bring as many people to heaven before Jesus comes back. And I think marriage plays a huge role in that, not just living it out between you and your spouse, but when this is done and it's displayed right, people that are single, been married forever, 80, 90 years old, 9 years old, will see that. And I can look at my life. My parents' marriage, my grandparents' marriage helped me come to know Jesus, because it was a safe place to ask questions. And I go, man, how would it... You wouldn't think about that. But when you go, oh my gosh, how my kids will watch my marriage... I've really, I've got to do this That's right. Good. So Cora, 9 months old, when she sees, oh yeah, mom and dad, they fight all the time, and I go sit in my room, oh my gosh, that would break my heart if that's what she says. I hope she says, man, when they fight, I know, because it's going to happen. It will happen. Those arguments happen, but they always come back together, and I've never been not safe in this house. I've never not trusted them. Wow. Yeah. I hope that our marriage plays a partner coming to know Jesus one day. I think would be amazing.
That's beautiful, man.
That's great.
So, hey, well, thank you for listening to this and just taking some time for this bonus episode. So awesome to see. So stay tuned. Maybe there'll be more episodes, maybe more shows coming out.
I don't know. Don't
it's up to the producer.
Yeah, up to our producer. But, hey, thanks for tapping in to this bonus episode, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Journey Weekly Podcast. We'll see you next time.